Hey folks, today I've got something unique for you, a creepy Christmas story that'll tighten your grip on that last candy cane. Get ready for a Christmas adventure that'll send shivers down your spine. Are you ready to dive into the darkness of holiday secrets? Buckle up, cause we're about to kick this off. Story 1. I'm honestly not sure what I was thinking when I signed up for an anonymous Secret Santa program online. I was bored and lonely after a nasty breakup, and I desperately wanted someone to seek me out, to think of me. In retrospect, maybe I should have just tried online dating. Still, all I wanted was a gift, a single heartwarming little bundle of joy. Gosh, even thinking that makes me roll my eyes. I've never been the sappy kind, but I just wanted to be cared for just once in my life. Looks like that was far too much to ask for. I idly tapped the side of the small black box anxiously as I peered into it once more. Maybe its contents would be replaced by something more favorable, more normal perhaps. Maybe I was just going crazy and the present I got was completely normal. No matter how many times I looked away and back, the contents of the box remained exactly the same. What? The pictures of me from when I was still married to my ex, right up until now. Some were very recent. On one, I was decorating the Christmas tree in my cheesy patterned pajamas, but something didn't quite add up. There were pictures where I knew there was no one in the house with me when they were taken. A few where I was lounging on the couch, face tear-stained, hair messy, an awful sight, really. But there were photos where I was different. On some, I was smiling happily, staring nearly into the camera. On others, I was sleeping peacefully. I wanted to gag. Was this my mother pulling some wild prank on me? I'd fallen out with her a few years ago, roughly when I divorced my ex. She felt like I'd given up on a comfortable life because I didn't want to stay with that jerk. I shook my head. My ex was the past, and I really needed to stop thinking about him. He wasn't the reason why I was so distressed at the moment. After all, maybe it was him. Maybe he's trying to force me to run back to his open arms. Terrified, I mumbled to myself, mostly some of my words slurred together. My thoughts felt jumbled, and my body heavy, though it was likely due to the shock, still barely allowing me to think clearly. Pat has moved on from me ages ago. We divorced because he moved on while we were still together, a stupid cheer. But then what was going on? No letter came with the photos, though they were all dated. On most of them, the ink was a bit smudged, as if they'd been pocketed quickly. That didn't really give me any better idea of the photographer behind them, but it felt a bit odd. Who are you kidding, girl? Whoever took these pictures is a lunatic, with or without the ink smudges. Yet, I felt just as crazy as I looked through them again and again, desperately trying to look for a signature, a name, or just anything. I found nothing, but then it dawned on me. The website I'd signed up for was supposed to let me know where my present came from once I opened it. Looks like whoever they are, they won't stay anonymous for long. I'll just call the cops. I said that, perhaps a touch too hotly. Half of my sentence was caught in my throat, silenced by the familiar thud of the main door being closed. Of course, I was so busy trying to comprehend the situation that I'd forgotten one important detail. Whoever had taken these photos had access to my house. After all, most of them looked like they'd been taken from inside the house. Sure, maybe they'd been standing outside on something, perhaps right behind the windows in that one spot that never got dusty, but there had to be some angles they couldn't get from there. Who's there? My voice sounded a lot raspier, a lot more scared suddenly. I stood up on shaky legs, bounding towards my bedroom's white wooden door to shut it. Before, "Hey, don't worry, it's just your Secret Santa," a painfully familiar voice made me swallow hard. Pat. But why? It made sense, though. I don't think I ever asked him to give his key back when he left. My attorney urged me to do so, to communicate with him, but I refused. There was no way I could talk to him after all he'd done to me, after he abandoned me at my weakest. And yet, surprise, the man whose voice I used to adore cheered. He sounded like he was much closer now, sneaking up the stairs like the cat we used to have, the cat that he threw out on the streets because she was too loud. "Your mother told me that you were lonely. She's been asking some friends of yours to keep an eye on you. And well, it's clear that you never quite bounced back. I felt guilty, so I'm here to make things right. Honey." Why did I almost believe him for a second there? I trembled, pushing against the wall. He knew where he'd find me, of course, so I knew hiding was useless. But I felt desperate for that upper hand. Just for a second, He'd taken so much from me before, and he was suddenly back, destroying the one nice thing I'd wanted to do so badly, my only wish. I shook my head. No, he wasn't going to do it. I had to do something. A shaky breath nearly got caught in my lungs when 3 quick knocks sounded on the bedroom door. It used to be familiar. It used to be our thing, just knocking on random surfaces to announce our arrivals or to get each other's attention. But it sounded threatening. It felt like if I allowed him in, something terrible would happen. I didn't realize I opened the window until I was standing in front of it, the merciless winter wind hitting me in the face every few seconds. It was so cold, and I was up quite high, but I didn't care. I wanted the one way out. Wait, honey, you need to. I stood in the window for a few seconds, crossing my fingers that I'd be fine, just like the cat I'd loved once. I thought I would land on my feet, though the ground was covered in ice. I didn't. Story 2. On this dark Christmas evening, when the streets were bathed in the rays of the cold December, I chose to stay at home, away from the Christmas crowds. However, something was different this time. In my house, at this quiet hour, something strange began to happen. I sat in my favorite armchair, enveloped in a fluffy blanket, and watched the flames in the fireplace when I heard a whisper from the other room. Something or someone was telling a ghostly Christmas story while footsteps echoed lightly on the stairs. I felt a chill down my spine. But at the same time, curiosity urged me to seek the source of these peculiar sounds. Step by step, I walked down the corridor, hearing the words of this mysterious storyteller becoming clearer. Christmas was a time for joy and happiness, echoed in the darkness. But somehow, the words were accompanied by a horrifying addition. On each mantle, where the Christmas tree stood, I saw a shadow, sprinkled with icy sparkles. Figures of ghostly children moved toward me, swirling in strange dances. With each pirouette, the story became darker. I continued to follow this phantom Christmas tale. Step by step, the shadows led me to the old hallway, where an old clock slowly ticked away, as if calling for something ominous. In the darkness, a ghostly figure appeared, shrouded in darkness, and its face hidden in the shadows. "You came for the truth," spoke the figure softly. "This Christmas night carries secrets that not everyone can understand." With each word, the room became colder, and the ghostly children continued to dance in the dark. With an intriguing shiver in my heart, I asked the mysterious figure what was happening this evening. "This is a Christmas door," she replied. "Between the light and the darkness, between joy and fear. Anyone who opens it will understand a Christmas secret that will haunt them forever." And so, in this strange Christmas moment, I stood before the Christmas door, ready to reveal the secrets of this night. While the shadows continued to dance and the clock ticked away, I opened the door to the unknown, prepared for the mysterious adventure that lay ahead. Story 3. On a dark Christmas night, I decided to visit an old abandoned house rumored to be cursed. I entered, surrounded by the cold darkness. The light from my flashlight quietly spread through the damp and crumbling walls. Inside, it was silent, as if time itself had stopped. The hallways cast terrifying shadows, and the creaking of the floors sounded like mournful wails. In one of the rooms, I found an old Christmas tree covered in cobwebs and dark shadows. Instead of lights and ornaments, dried remnants of dolls and old lamps hung from its branches. I read an old letter left on a dirty table, revealing horrifying secrets about this place. According to legend, a family was expelled from here years ago due to strange and unexplainable phenomena. It was said that the ghosts of children roamed the corridors, crying for their lost toys and joyous moments from their distant past. As I ventured further into the dark spaces of the house, I heard whispers and strange footsteps behind me. The light from my flashlight blinked, and I looked toward the stairs, where I seemingly saw a haunting silhouette of a little boy with a frozen and exhausted expression. He gazed at me with teary eyes, while his hands reached out towards me. Then I heard children's laughter and songs, filled with a chilling melody. The room filled with light, but not from my flashlight. I was surrounded by pale figures of children dancing in the dark, their shadows crawling up the walls. They sang old Christmas songs, but the lyrics changed, becoming dark and eerie. I felt the room getting colder, and I was immersed in this terrifying choir. The children continued to sing, and their shadows pressed closer to me. At the height of my fear, the light vanished, leaving me alone in complete darkness. The invisible songs continued, and I was trapped in the room with the souls of the expelled children. Fear engulfed me as I desperately tried to leave this house of horrors, but the door ominously closed in front of me, leaving me alone in the chill of the unknown. And so, the Christmas night in the abandoned house continues to live with its fears and mysteries, as the songs of the lost children echo eternally in the darkness. And let me tell you one more Christmas story as a gift for you. Christmas is usually a time of peace and joy, but sometimes it's a time when the strangest and most horrific things can happen. The story is from when I was a kid. At that time, I couldn't defend myself. I couldn't run away from home or call the police. At that time, I could only depend on my parents to protect me. The moment they couldn't do it, I came face to face with death and almost didn't survive to tell the story. Truth be told, Christmas didn't used to be my favorite holiday. Make no mistake, I enjoyed the presents, the food, and the arrival of Santa Claus. But since my whole family was quite young and my parents had me when they were very young, I was the only boy in the family except for my oldest son who had a baby. This was really very boring since the party where the children were supposed to enjoy the most turned into a boring family dinner for adults. After we all gathered at the table to eat, I went to the dining room to play alone. And that's when it all started. At that moment, I thought maybe I had seen too many horror movies, but I could have sworn I saw someone through the window, as if a shadow had run past. I approached the window to get a better look, but I couldn't see anything. I thought maybe it was my imagination. Behind the window was a man with a terrifying demon mask. The mask had a huge grin on it. From behind the window, the man tapped on it slowly and pointed to the front door. As a kid, my first impulse was to walk away slowly. The man turned his head in disappointment. After that, he left the window and went in the direction of the front door. A few seconds later, someone started banging on it. That must be Henry with the beer. I'll go get it. Dad, don't open it. It's not Uncle Henry. It's a man in a demon mask. What are you talking about, Josh? If you lost your mind, it's your uncle. There was just a man at the window with a demon mask. I swear it's not Uncle Henry. Hesitantly, my dad went to the door and looked through the peephole. After doing so, he raised his head and opened the door. I knew I shouldn't have got that haircut. Dad, I'm serious. There was a man with a mask in the window. Josh, I know you're bored, but you can't scare adults like that. You always do that. I'm serious this time, I swear. Without listening to me anymore, my dad had gone back to the kitchen with my uncle to put the beer away. I don't know how much I could blame him for not believing me. As a kid, I used to make up imaginary friends, and that night, my dad was a little too drunk. I was very scared of this man, so I decided to continue playing in my room. Going upstairs just in case, I locked the door with a chair. I spent a few minutes bored, knowing that at midnight, my parents would come to pick me up to watch the fireworks. But I started to fall asleep. I didn't think I could stay awake a minute longer. Josh, come down. It's already midnight. They're shooting fireworks. From my bedroom window overlooking the courtyard, I could see beautiful fireworks covering the whole sky. I stared out my window. My family was already outside watching the huge amount of light in the sky. Suddenly, someone started banging on my door. I was about to open it when I realized something. I looked out the window again. There's Mom, Dad, the uncles, grandparents. They're all downstairs. Then who's banging at the door? Kid, could you open the door for me, please? I just want to talk. It's you, the guy with the mask. Get out of here. I'll tell my parents. Oh, you don't want to do that. I'll be very angry. Desperate, I opened the window and shouted to my parents, Dad, Mom, help. There's someone trying to get in my room. At that moment, my parents got scared and tried to open the backyard door, but they couldn't do it. It was locked. Someone locked it from the inside. They started kicking it in desperation. Meanwhile, the voice behind me got louder and louder. Didn't you hear me? I told you I would be angry. Get out of here. I'm not opening it. Oh, come on, Josh. You'll like where I'm taking you. It's full of children's corpses you can play with. Josh, you know what I did to them all. I strangled them. I did the same thing I'm going to do to you. I squeezed their necks with my huge hands and watched their lives go. While he was saying this, the man with the mask was about to break the door. I saw the wood begin to break little by little. It wouldn't resist much longer. I looked out the window again. My whole family was still trying to break into the house any way they could. My father grabbed a rock and threw it at the window outside, breaking it. At that moment, the pounding in my room stopped. I looked back at the door. There was no one trying to break it, but someone was still behind it. You know, Joshua, I've been watching you for weeks. When you get out of school, when you hang out at your friend Steven's house, when you go swimming, I could kill you whenever I want. I just wanted to do it at Christmas to make it special, like I did with the other boys. Well, the man was talking. I heard my dad come in through the broken window and shout from below, Josh, next time I see you, little boy, I'll make sure it's not special. You're going to suffer a lot. The voice was gone. A few seconds later, my father came up the stairs and into my room. A few seconds later, my mother and my aunt and my uncle came in. This time, no one doubted my story, as they all saw how someone tried to force my door open. When the police arrived, I listened as my father told them everything that had happened. At that moment, the psychopath not only took advantage of the fireworks to get in but locked the door from the inside. After hearing the story, the cops assumed that everything was planned for me to stay in the house with them. All he had to do was watch us and wait for the moment to strike, and that's exactly what happened. After that, I didn't leave the house for weeks. There was always someone with me, and the police were always around. One night in February, the police came to my house telling me that they had caught the man. He called himself the Grinch, and as he told me, he was guilty of many disappearances of children my age whose bodies turned up buried in his yard. The motive for the killings: he just wanted to make a name for himself and thought there'd be nothing more shocking than killing children. Nothing was the same from that day on. Many years later, I still go to the psychiatrist because of that man. Every time I sleep, I dream about what would have happened if I hadn't locked the door to my room. I dream of him hanging me, as promised. I dream that I'm a boy again, and he comes looking for me at my school. I dream that, once again, I'm helpless. He may be condemned to life in prison, but at the same time, he is still with me. I feel that he always will be. Phew, that was quite a ride through the shadows of Christmas, wasn't it? I hope you enjoyed our journey into the mysterious and spine-tingling side of the holidays. If you've managed to keep the holiday spirits high after that, congratulations! Don't forget to hit that like button if you survived, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more creepy tales. Until next time, may your nights be merry and your dreams interesting. Stay curious, my friends, and happy holidays.